Wine Wednesday Live. Hey, it's Brian. Thanks for joining me once again this week. Today we're delving into Northwest Italian wine, in particular the Nebbiolo grape. We'll be talking about that and also giving you once again a chance to win a very nice prize, that $30 gift card from Arrow Wine and Spirits in Mason. So just say hello, let me know you're here, let me know that you're watching, and give me a like, and you'll make yourself eligible to win that $30 gift card. Hello, Debbie. So today we're talking about Nebbiolo, a classic grape, which you'll find in several Italian wines, including the excellent Barolo and also Barbaresco wines. Those have to be Nebbiolo. But you can also make Nebbiolo by itself, which is what we're doing today. Very interesting wine. Today it's the Travaglini Winery and their classic wine, Gattinara. And in a moment, we'll talk about the Italian wine label and how it's a little confusing compared to what we're used to in this country. Hey, Maureen. So where are we talking about in Italy? The Piedmont area, the top of the boot right there. If you're wearing like a furry winter boot, it's up in the fur. You can see where the red dot is. That is where this wine is, this grape is grown. And it's right in the foothills of the Alps. Hello, Kelly. It is a beautiful Wine Wednesday afternoon. You're absolutely right about that. So a cooler climate compared to like Sicily, or Tuscany. And it's going to take a little bit longer to ripen these particular grapes. And the Nebbiolo grape is so named because of the Italian word for fog is nebbia. And the early morning fog in the Piedmont is very important for the ripening of the Nebbiolo grape because it's thin-skinned, it's fussy, it's temperamental. It needs the warm, dry days, but because of its thin skins, it's going to get all squishy, unless you've got something to keep it crisp. And this early morning fog rolls in from the mountains, cools the vineyards down, and allows a slow ripening of the Nebbiolo grape up in the Piedmont area. So the wine is called Gattinara. And let's take a look at this label, because this is an Italian wine label, and it used to be I'd walk into a store and I'd look at this and my mind would go blank. It's like, what am I looking at? Well, let's break it down. So the top of there, where it says, the top of the main label, Travaglini, that is the name of the winery. Vendemmia, up at the top there, 2017, that stands for vintage. Gattinara is the region, and there's other information, but those are the main three things that you need to look at. Vintage, Vendemmia, the winery that produces it, and Gattinara is the region, because over in Europe, that's how they do things. The region makes the wines, and that's what they put on the label. So you have to do a little study to know what grapes are going into that particular wine. Here in this country, you just know. It says Cabernet. Over there, it's a little bit more complicated. So Gattinara is a region known for really, really good Nebbiolo, and that is what we're trying today. So Nebbiolo is a temperamental, fussy grape, and it's very similar in many ways to Pinot, because Pinot Noir is also thin-skinned, and as we'll see in a moment, it's also transparent. You can kind of read through the wine glass because it doesn't have this thick opacity that a lot of these other wines with thicker skins. They impart more color and impart just a lot more of everything. But what's interesting to me about the Nebbiolo grape is the fact that it has thin skins, but it imparts a lot of flavor despite that. A lot of flavor. And this is a little bit more expensive wine than I'm used to talking about because it's made in such a way that it requires more care, it requires more aging, and it just costs a little bit more. So this is more like a special occasion wine, and I need you to think about it almost like Barolo, B-A-R-O-L-O, which is another wine region in Italy, and these wines are expensive. Same grape. The big difference between a Barolo and what we're having today is that it takes a minimum of 3 years aging in oak before it can even be released. That's just one of the things that makes Barolo so expensive. those things are, you know, hundreds of dollars for a really good bottle. The one we're having today is about 35. So again, it's a special occasion wine, but worth it if you want to experience true Italian classic Nebbiolo. And that's what we're having today. So the winery we're talking about today, Travaglini, has been making wines in the area, in the Piedmont, the northern Piedmont, since the early 1800s. But it really wasn't until 1958 when a wine pioneer by the name of Giancarlo Travaglini decided he was going to just flip everything upside down, and he made a lot of changes that made the Travaglini Estate Winery on the map. Okay, David Frost says, stop on into Arrow Wine and grab a bottle of this. And also David and Thomas, another good one from the same producer. I should tell you that Palm Bay International distributes this particular wine in America and all over the world, and is helping make this broadcast possible. So put your hands together for Palm Bay International. So Travaglini, some of the groundbreaking changes that Giancarlo made were 100% hand harvesting. He realized that with thin-skinned, you're not going to be able to bring your machinery in there and just get a good grape. They're all going to get crushed and nicked, and you're going to have all kinds of problems with quality. So he said, nope, 100% hand harvesting from now on. And this was 1958. So that was a pretty interesting change. He was the first to experiment with barrique, which is the different types of oak barrels. Depending on the size, depending on the type of oak, depending on the type of toast and burn you have on the inside, you're going to have all kinds of different flavors. So Giancarlo Travaglini was really experimenting with that and came on the scene and made a lot of changes, which a lot of the Piedmont winemakers today still do, but he was the first one. He was also improving viticultural methods. He was making sure that the vines and everything are being pruned properly. And he sort of did a lot of things that were not done in the Piedmont until the 50s and are still done today all over the Piedmont because of Giancarlo Travaglini. So Nebbiolo, very old grape. Let me give you an idea of what this area looks like, by the way. This is one of those bucket list places. The Piedmont. I mean, you can see the Alps in the background. Isn't that just gorgeous? And you've got the vineyards in the hills. It just looks like a storybook. It looks like a fairy tale book cover, doesn't it? Once again, this is where it is, on the upper northwest part of Italy, right in the border there with Switzerland. So, and also, hey, shout out to Palm Bay International, woohoo! So this is a 91-point wine according to Robert Parker. Nebbiolo, 100%, 13.5% alcohol. Nebbiolo, as I mentioned, a very old grape, and the question is how old? We know that it was written about in the 1300s, but some people think that Pliny the Elder, a Roman statesman and naturalist, wrote about it as early as the 1st century. He talked about a grape that was called Spana or Spinea that was cooled by the fog, and Spana is the official name in the Piedmont of the Nebbiolo grape. So could be even older than the 12th century, could be as... just imagine this wine being around at the time of Christ. Crazy, isn't it? Hello, William. William asks, do you have to use a large glass for red and small for white? Does it really matter? Well, you know, it's become a science. There's all kinds of different sizes of glasses, and it really depends on the wine. I mean, yes, generally speaking, you want a bigger glass like this for a red wine, because what you want to do is capture the aromas. A white wine glass, you want to have it a little bit more curved in. Champagne flutes, you want to see the bubbles, so you got those little flute styles. There's a difference between red Burgundy glasses and Cabernet glasses. Cabernet glasses go a little bit more in, Burgundy goes a little bit more out. So it really depends on the type of wine that you're trying to have. But this is kind of a standard red wine glass that I use every week, even when I'm pouring white wine. I like this. Just because I'm lazy, I guess. Hello, Donna. And someone says hi from Savannah. That would be Naomi and Kathy. Hi from Savannah to you too. So I'm letting this one breathe just a little bit. Going to give it a little air. And the first thing you'll notice about this particular wine is the color. It's very interesting for a big red wine like this to be so light. I mean, look at that. It's like a, it's almost like a transparent, like a Pinot Noir, but it's got a little bit of an orange edge to it. This is a nice ruby color. And again, it's kind of a mystery grape in many ways because it is so light and it looks like it's going to be light and fruity, but then when you taste it, it's something completely different. So the aroma for this one, it definitely is more floral than probably any other wine you've had, unless it's a white wine. Most of those are floral, but for a red wine, this is very floral. It almost smells like rose petals. Really, really interesting. And I smell this and I literally don't know what it's going to taste like. Sometimes with the big California wines, you can smell it and it's like, oh, I know exactly what this is going to taste like. It's going to be big and fruity and powerful. This one seems like it's going to be light and flowery, but when you think of flowery, what does that translate to in terms of taste, right? Who knows? I get a little bit of cherry, a little bit of raspberry, and just a hint of like espresso, a little bit of coffee. So you know this is going to be a little earthy, but what is the taste of good old-fashioned Nebbiolo going to be? Let's find out, shall we? Italian wines, I swear. You just never know what to expect from these things. This is a really, really good wine. And I'll tell you why. First of all, my goodness, this is not a big, lush, fruity wine at all. But what hits you right away is layer after layer after layer of flavor. You've got cherry, definitely some tart cherry, some raspberry. Then you've got a very, very dry, it just sort of balances whatever fruit is there. An earthiness, there's pepper, there's spice, and then you've got this really dry finish down the back of your throat. This is not a high alcohol wine at all. I think it's like 13%, 13.5%. Long finish. This is an elegant, elegant wine. Wow, I'm still tasting it. I'm still tasting this wine. So again, very dry, full-bodied. It's not going to hit you over the head with fruit. The cherry hits in the beginning and then the raspberry, but then the rest of it is just dry and peppery and spicy and a little bit of smoke in the end. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, this would go really well with beef stew. Beef stew, oh yeah. Risotto, yes. You're looking for something that's going to give you a little fat, you know, like buttery sauces, cheesy sauces. You could have this just with cheese and it would be great. You know, think about what rustic Italian food you might have in the northern Piedmont that would go really, really well with this. This is a delicious wine. But again, it's a little bit more expensive. I looked at it online and a lot of places are selling it for $40. Arrow Wine is selling it for about $35, so it's a good deal. This is a 91-point wine, according to Robert Parker. It's a 92-point wine, according to James Suckling. And yeah, this is interesting. This is something you should try. Just a really traditional, dry Italian food wine for sure. But I think it tastes dynamite by itself too. But again, not fruity, not at all. This is a dry Italian wine. Yes, your Italian mother would love it, guaranteed. So once again, this is the wine we're talking about today from Travaglini. Gattinara is the region. Travaglini is the winery. This is from 2017, and I would say you could lay this one down for a few years. It would probably smooth out a little bit more, maybe not have as much pepper on the end, but still excellent, excellent. And layers of flavor and a really long finish that I think you'll really like. Norma says, we need this wine for our birthday party this Sunday. Yeah, why not, right? Susan says, it sounds delicious. Donna says, sounds like a good wine today. Yeah. Well, again, a little bit more expensive than I'm used to talking about, but it's worth it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, look at this interesting bottle. You can see my aerator on top there. This is a bottle, and this was another one of the inventions of Giancarlo Travaglini. This bottle is patented. Nobody else can have it. And it's shaped in such a way where it's curves, so you can actually hold it very nicely, but you'll notice how it kind of bulbs out like this. The reason is because that gives you more oxygen for the wine as you pour it. So it's almost like a built-in aerator in the bottle. And it's also down here, when you're pouring it like this, if there's any sediment in the wine, it'll get stuck there. It's not going to be poured into your glass. Isn't that interesting? Sort of a sensual, curvy bottle. And then once again, this is patented. No other winery except Travaglini has access to this without paying them a pretty penny for that shape. I thought that was kind of an interesting story too. All right, so let me know you're here, whether you're watching live or on demand. Somebody's going to win that $30 gift card from Arrow Wine and Spirits. I don't know if you caught the video on Saturday with Scott Zanin. He had all his wines being tasted, and we talked with him in the afternoon. I got to tell you, that guy knows what he's doing. I tried his Sauvignon Blanc. Holy mackerel, that was good. So all the Zanin wines are there. This wine is there. Tremendous selection at Arrow Wine. And you could win a $30 gift card to get whatever wine you want just for saying hello and letting me know you're here on Wine Wednesday Live. Maureen says, thank you for the description. Sounds yummy. It is. It is. And Italian wine is just a different animal, just a completely different animal. And it's worth trying. Definitely worth trying. And it'll give you a taste. It's like a baby Barolo, this particular wine. Same grape, just not as much aging in oak, and done really, really well for a pretty good price. Terry says, hi, thanks for the info. Thank you for watching Wine Wednesday Live. We'll see you next week.